Tutorials by Gardner proudly presents hand-painted lettering on glass, a two-part series that'll end up looking like this. To begin this project, we're going to need some 3M green tape, which comes in a multiple of sizes, and we're going to use the 1/4-inch size. It's flexible and leaves a very clean edge to our painted lettering. We'll need some Stabilo pencils, which are wax-free and easy to wipe off and change if we need it. And we'll use a 1/2-inch lettering brush, a 1/4-inch lettering brush, and a script brush with pointed tip. To begin any project, we always want to make sure we have a clean surface, and glass is especially susceptible to oil, road oil, and fingerprints and so forth. So clean the surface maybe twice. Then, using a white Stabilo pencil, we begin with the end in mind, which in this case is the phone number. So laying in where we want to end up, making the number as large as we want it so that it's easy to read, and using those little heated elements in the glass window makes it an easy guidelines to follow. There's a rough sketch of the phone number. Then we divide the window into murals by Gardner.com, basically two parts, the word murals and Gardner.com. We begin again with the end in mind. That's how much space that takes up. Scripting the letters B and Y, they don't take up much room in the middle. And that leaves us with this much space for the word murals. So, beginning there at the beginning, I freehand in a large letter M. I want the top to be level with the top of the car, but I want the bottom to curve, lower on the left and swooping upwards over the windshield wiper as it moves to the right. Now, whoops, ran out of room for the last two letters. Again, the Stabilo pencil is easy to wipe off with a little Windex on a cloth. And then, finishing the letters, A, L, and S. I reposition the letters by Gardner. Again, using the little red heating elements for my guidelines, and there I have my rough sketch. The next step is to tape off the bottom guideline and the upper guideline for each of the words and the phone number. To do this, we begin by tacking one end of the tape down to the location, stretching the tape with the left hand, and then pressing it down as we go across. And it's a simple thing to just pull it back with your finger to rip off what you don't need. It curves very nicely. Get a nice curve. You use your left hand to lower it and your right hand to press it against the glass, coordinating your movements. Tape off the top of the letter M and just pull back the tape. It tears easily. And the top of the rest of the letters. Letter L goes above the guideline. That's okay. We'll catch up with that later. There we have our taped off area. Now we can begin the actual painting. Begin by dipping our brush just lightly into the paint so you get paint on the tip of the brush but not all the way up to the bristles. Just dip it into the paint, put it into a little cup with some mineral spirits in that cup, and mix the two together as you need off the side of the cup. You want your paint just enough to stick to the brush, but smooth enough to flow. Then, begin by placing your baby finger on the surface first, and holding the brush between your thumb and your forefinger and your third finger, rotating it. Just drag your finger down the surface, using your baby finger to set the distance and the flexibility. It allows your fingers to move. The baby finger is the key. The brush does the work, but the baby finger sets it. Now notice, now my baby finger is still riding on its knuckle. It is still setting the distance from the surface so that I have always some foundation when I'm pulling the brush. There's the baby finger again, just rubbing itself up against the glass, bending it as needed, stretching it as needed. The key is in the baby finger. Sometimes using it as a guide, sometimes using it as a pivot point, sometimes using it, stretching it, and sometimes leaning it underneath it and using it on the knuckle instead of on the fingertip. There you go. Moving right along here, we'll fast motion the video and cover the rest of the letters here until we get to the letter A. A's and C's and O's, the round letters, require a little special treatment, again, depending on that baby finger to give us a foundation, a pivot point on which to move our hand. There. Once we have that, again, dip the paint in, get the right amount. The letter L, because it goes above the guideline, I'm only going to do the bottom half first and come back and do the top part after I pull the tape. But now again, using the baby finger for my guide, pulling a very nice clean edge with the brush. And add the serifs. Serifs are the little feet, stick out from the primary part of the letter. S-E-R-I-F, serif. While I'm at it, make the same one for the letter A. This is where the half-inch lettering brushes have a flat tip. Gives you a nice clean corner or edge. And now the letter S, an especially challenging letter. That in the numeral 8. Compound curves. So I begin by putting in my base S, the last part of the letter. Always begin with the end in mind, or the end starting first. Then I make a curve that's going to meet with that S. There you go. See how that works. Again, looking at the baby finger. That's my pivot point. Guideline, keeping my brush the same distance or the same thickness and control. mixing the thickness of the paint so that it just flows. It's a combination of the mineral spirits in the bottom of the cup or some other reducer and the thickness of the paint, which does change with temperature. So, and seeing the baby finger doing its job there. There we have it. Pull the tape. And then we need to complete the letter L. Simply a matter of tying up the paint while it's still wet so the paint will blend, not leaving a significant edge. And making sure that you keep your hand out of the wet paint on the letter S. There you have it. For freehand lettering, we're going to use the script brush here with the pointed tip. And when we press down on it, the bristles spread apart, giving us a wider line. And when we lighten up on it, we get a thinner line. So our first step is to sketch in, and then come back with it and fill in using our baby finger as our support and simply rotating our forefinger and thumb to fill in the letter. And bracing it with that baby finger, simply moving the brush in a smooth curve, giving us this end result. Same with the letter Y. Nice smooth curve at the end. Bring it in. And then come at it from a different angle to give us a thick tail into a smooth curve. The rest of the freehand lettering is done the same way. I use the tape only as a guideline. I'm not going to actually touch the tape with the paint as I did with the block letters. There I pulled the tape and gave myself a very clean edge. With the freehand lettering, I'm simply going to stay in between the tape guidelines and not quite touch them. Close, but not quite. Again, pressing down heavily on the brush, the bristles spread apart, giving me a wider line. And then if I just do lightly, I get a narrow tip. The rest of the lettering is done the same way, pressing down for the thicker part of the letter, lifting up for the thinner part of the letter. Freehand lettering can be done quickly. It's always fun and sort of exciting to pull the tape and see the finished result without the guidelines. Then, continuing the project here with a lot of curved numerals in this particular phone number. So the baby finger really gets a workout, as it is your support and your pivot point. And pressing down hard on the brush to get a wider line, lifting up on the brush to get a narrow line. And with the number 8, it's like a little bit of a ballet as the hand dances to the left and then dances to the right, making it just a nice, thicker on the sides and thinner at the top. Take your time. I've obviously run the video at a little bit faster speed here. But using the pressure of the brush, thick and thin. Press down for a wide line, lift up for a thin area. And when you're done, pull the tape, and it looks like this. In part 2, we'll fancy up the letters, outline them, and add some more color. Thank you.